the top 10 here for Frank because there is a new number 1. It used to be Bunting. It is now Damon Severson at number 1 on the list, followed by Bertuzzi, Orlov, who's a left defenseman, JT Compher, Michael Bunting, Ryan Graves, who I don't hate at all, Alex Killorn, but Graves is also a lefty, Alex Killorn, Patrick Kane, Ryan O'Reilly, and Vladislav Gavrikov. Now I can hear the comments. I can hear people around Edmonton tapping away at their keyboard saying, Severson to the Oilers, Severson to the Oilers. The projected contract for this guy, according to Frank, and he partnered up with an analytics team to do this, and they're pretty good with this kind of stuff, 6 years by $6.1 million. Ooh. Good Lord, I'm not signing Damon Severson for $6.1 million.
No, you can't. You can't do that. You'd be paying him more than Matthias Ekholm.
Foolish.
Very silly. Very, very silly. Yeah, I'm looking at this board, and I mean, what players wouldn't you want, right? But it's just going to be such a difficult task for the Oilers to really sign any of them. There is one name, though, which I wouldn't mind trying to figure it out. And I've changed my tone on him a little bit, but Vladislav Gavrikov. But he's going to be a little bit of money, I know that. But if there's one name in that top 10, I would like the Oilers to go out, and I think you just help them tremendously, would be a Gavrikov.
Because he's a lefty.
He was a righty.
He's a lefty.
I guess so. I might take him anyway. Like I said yesterday, I'm kind of over the idea of like left and righties. Like I feel like they can figure it out as long as it's not like 6 lefties, 6 righties. So I think I might be on the Gavrikov train. I just think he would help them just massively.
Tyler Mulick has been saying this a few times now in the chat. So we'll get to it here. Colton Parayko. Floating this back out there. On Frank's trade targets board, he did have the idea that they could look to move a defenseman in St. Louis. One of the 4, Falk, Krug, Parayko, Leddy. They all have no trade clauses. They all make, 3 of them make $6.5 million, and Leddy makes 4. Colton Parayko's contract runs for 6 more years, 7 more years. I don't know how you fit that in unless they're keeping money. Listen, he's a right D. He's 30. I don't love the idea of having that contract till he's 36, 37 years old. I love the idea of a local guy. I like the player. I don't love the player anymore. I think his game's taken a bit of a step back over the last 18 months. If St. Louis is going to eat some and take Ceci, you're still giving up a first and probably something else, considering the financial side of it. Mm-hmm. I don't see it. I like it, but I don't see it as realistic is kind of my point. I think there's too many hurdles to clear to get a deal done for a guy like Colton Parayko. I'm not sure if the juice is worth the squeeze in that sense. And I think they're better off. Again, if you can free up $6.5 million somehow for Parayko, I think you're better off just using that $6.5 million to get a free agent righty and go get a forward or something, you know?
Do you think you would have to pay more for Parayko than what you paid for Ekholm?
No,
just slightly. Maybe just
it'd be less,
like a prospect.
But again, I think you need them to keep money in this scenario, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if St. Louis is overly interested in keeping money on a guy who has 7 more years, and then you can sit there and go, offload bad contracts. How many bad contracts do you have left if you're the Oilers? Like Yamo and Ceci would perfectly line up to it. I get that, but then again, you're emptying out your bad contracts to bring in one piece and not even giving yourself a lot of cap relief in that sense, right? Like I think the idea is you offload Yamo and Ceci and you go get like a $4 million replacement for Ceci and you go fill Yamo with a young guy or a cheap free agent.
Yeah, I just don't think the Oilers need to put themselves in that situation of just locking themselves into Colton Parayko, who, like you said, is regressing quite steadily, I guess you could say. But the Oilers just don't need that. This group is good enough without Parayko that you could probably just go and add like a $2 or $3 million defenseman to help balance it out a little bit more instead of investing so much in a Parayko. I mean, a couple of years ago, I would have been all over that Colton Parayko, but no, I'm off the bandwagon.
And here, if you can find takers for Ceci and Yamamoto, and then you're going, okay, we're spending $6 million on a D-man. Mm-hmm. Flash this up again, Aaron. He's 2 years younger. I would go to, hey, I'd say I wouldn't do 6 by 6, but I'd say, hey, I'll give you 4 by 6.5. It would end 3 years sooner than Parayko, 2 or 3 years sooner than Parayko. He's younger, might be a better fit, right? Like I think Parayko, and again, you're not gonna have to give up assets to get this guy. I think with Parayko, there's an element because of his reputation of you got to offload the money and then you got to pay assets to get him. That's just too much for me.